Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. As someone who does YouTube videos, I love Lorna Slater. For a long time, she was great. She was fodder. You could guarantee 2-3 times a day there'd be something that she'd done that would warrant a video. The woman was totally inept at everything. And she may have been gone from government for quite some time now, but she still pops up occasionally and gives us those little glimmers of the good old days when her stupidity, ignorance, ineptitude, and sheer lack of any kind of talent was manna from heaven. And this week is no different because, ladies and gentlemen, the court cases begin. Biffa. Biffa are taking the Scottish Government to court in a £200 million lawsuit over the collapse of the deposit return scheme. That didn't need to collapse, of course. It didn't need to go. It could have survived. Everyone said, oh no, just because there's no glass doesn't matter. It's fine. No glass, no issue. But Lorna didn't like that. She wanted to own glass as well. So she, in a little fit of pique, clamped it down. And in doing so, unravelled everything. All the money that had invested, gone. All the time and effort, gone. And not just government money, or taxpayers' money as we could call it, but private money, company money. And they were coming after the government. And you know what? They're going to win. This one incredibly stupid woman is about to cost 200 million. This is just the start. It's likely to be $500 million by the time it finishes. And so they've got to go back to court again. Now remember, this is a Scottish government that's never won a court case. So they're going to face off. Then rather than cut a deal, they're going to go to court. I'd like to see what the legal advice was on whether they should fight this or cut a deal. I bet the legal advice was cut a deal. But they're not going to, because that would be too embarrassing. That would be an admission of failure. Well, that's what happens, of course, if you get into bed with the Greens. Failure all the way. But it's going into court, and the court proceedings start. Well, actually, technically, they started yesterday, but it's going to be several days. So all they're doing yesterday was laying out the case. And then tomorrow is the rounding off. It's probably going to be 2, maybe 3 days. So it should finish tomorrow or Friday. And then it'll go away. But it's going to be a very, I believe, summary judgment. Because what can they say? It was Lorna Slater that collapsed it. Everyone else said yes. And certainly Biffa, who went out and spent millions upon millions of pounds, want their money back. Great, isn't it? So Biffa is now suing the SNP government. They want their 200 million back. And this is money that they've lost through the actual money they spent out on investment, plus what they're entitled to as well, which is the loss of profit, because they went into this in good faith and they would have made this much profit, and now they're not because of her decision. And they're suing for that as well. 200 million. This is just one company. Don't forget, all the supermarkets have got to have their go yet. The Association of Small Retailers are going to have a go yet. There's others. There's all sorts of people involved. There's going to be lots and lots of cases. This is just the first of many. Now, this whole DRS, of course, we talked ad nauseum at the time. It was headed by Jeffrey, and she collapsed it after Humza Yousaf refused to give in to her demands over glass. Although the SNP consistently blamed Westminster. They said, oh, but it's Westminster's fault, But it wasn't Westminster's fault at all. And indeed, Westminster said they're not having glass. They said all along they're not doing glass. Glass is already 95% recycled. And so it was just never on the cards. And indeed, subsequent to this collapse, Westminster have come out and sort of given the details of the nationwide DRS scheme, which doesn't include glass, which we knew all along. See, glass recycling is excellent. We don't need to touch it. Leave that alone. Just do everything else. There you go. What's hard to understand? Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, Biffa was hired by the Scottish Government on a 10-year contract. That's how they know the 200 million, which includes the profit. They were going to deal with the logistics and the movement and the recycling. And that's all part of this DRS. But this contract was handed out by the executive, but before the executive had even got the internal market rules needed from Westminster. Now, they were saying, oh, they should have done it months ago. Anyway, it's proven that they had only put the request for the internal market rule change in about a month before. It should have been in like day one of the DRS to be there in place. No, they did it a month before it went supposed to go live. It was an absolute shambles. Anyway, the waste management firm are saying they lost 55 million in expenses because of the stuff they've lost, and is also looking over and above the 55 million for a further 145 million in lost profits. And they're going to get it because the law's on their side. Biffa was also the largest creditor of the DRS. And it was also had a regular contact with Jeffrey and kept saying, whatever you do, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And kept trying to advise her to do things or not do things so that this whole thing could work and go forward. And there's memos flying back and forth about them saying, do these, do these, do these. We've got our experts here. Because Biffa are experts in this stuff. But Jeffrey knows best. And Jeffrey ignored all these emails and ignored all the advice and pushed ahead with her vision. But unfortunately, Jeffrey, of course, is thick as champ, and her vision is not very good, blurred at best. And so, of course, it fails. And it plunged into administration, billions lost, jobs lost, and now another 500 million, probably, not billions lost, millions lost, but potentially over time, billions lost, but hundreds of millions lost. And now this court case, more hundreds of millions. And as I say, more court cases to come. Who knows where it's going to end? Especially if they start putting punitive fines on. Now, I do hope Jeffrey's in court. I do hope that they find her personally liable. That'd be cracking, wouldn't it? If we sell your house, love, and then bugger off back whence you came. Although Canada don't want her back either. Anyway, let me know what you think, and we will keep an eye on this case to see what goes on. And hopefully, lots. I want to see the result. And I'm actually going with Biffa on this one, just to teach the SNP a lesson. They can't win court cases. They shouldn't go to court. Thanks a lot. Bye.